Hello and welcome to the Aussie Mixed and Fixed GT Championship live on the iRacing Esports Network, presented by Apex Racing TV. We're here for round 12 of this season 11. It is the season finale. My name is Sam Fitzpatrick, and taking you through it all as well is Daniel Leap with Scott Newton on the cameras. And it's been an incredible season so far, Daniel, and it is incredibly close going into this last round of the championship. We've seen this season after season. It always comes down to the final round of the championship, and whoever wins out today is going to have a fantastic chance at winning the title.
Yeah, definitely. Good evening, Sam, and to all the viewers tuning in. Great to have you aboard also. But yeah, it's been a stellar season so far. Come to the conclusion at Belle, which in itself provides its own set of unique challenges for all these drivers. To that, throw into it, we've still got a championship to play for as well. Anything could happen tonight. I'm really looking to see what these guys have got for it.
Absolutely. So just a little bit of a reminder then of the championship. It looks as though it's going to be a two-horse race for the overall title between Timothy Theben and Nathan Huppertz. Now, if Huppertz is currently in the lead, but not by a lot. So if Theben wins, for example, Huppertz needs to finish on the podium in order to keep the championship, and there's lots of other scenarios. We'll try to keep you up to date with it all the way through, but it can so easily change. If anyone saw Road Atlanta last season or any of the other Aussie Mixed and Fixed GT season finales, it's never conventional. Something always happens out on circuits, so it could be a really entertaining final round of the championship, especially around this Belle Isle circuit. The drivers are currently in their practice session, and that will in fact be ending very, very shortly. And then we'll jump into this 45-minute race. One pit stop will be made from the drivers, and should be a really fantastic event. So yeah, the checker flag is just out for the drivers, and we will very soon be able to go through your grid for tonight. After pre-qualifying was done earlier on, the top 40 or so drivers managed to get into this top split. At the top of those 40 drivers was Aidan Lewthwaite on pole position, Craig Edwards alongside him on the front row of the grid. Timothy Theben, Joshua Thomas in third and fourth. Then it's Kane Ryder, Sam Sutton, Ross Rizzo, Will Alton, Trent Thomas, Jason Dixon, Warren Pickering, Hugh Barter. Then it's Nathan Huppertz, championship leader, a long way down the order. Needs to finish much higher than that in order to take the championship. Then it's Adam Gardner, Jeremy Clark, Jordan Cullis, Harrison Sellers, Tom Huggan, Julian Clean Busink, Adrian Block, Lee Vandenberg, Blake Delaney, Damon Maltqueen, Martin Crisp, Pat Gallo, Matt Morris, Nick Sanfilippo, Peter Hunter, and the rest of the order as well. We'll go through down to 33 drivers, and we will have a full formation lap as well, which gives us a little bit more time to analyse what's going to happen. But that's an absolutely massive starting order. Really strange to see Huppertz so far down the order, Daniel.
Yeah, it's not usual for that. You know, we've seen him perform very, very well. Hopefully it's not any of the nerves or anything with what tonight actually is coming out to be, but he's definitely got a lot of work to do, and I couldn't think of a track really where you'd want to start that far back with knowing what you've got on the cards here. So he's going to need to be really, really cautious, especially through turn one. We've seen it. You know, we had the IndyCars come through and all hell broke loose there, but yeah.
So here we go then for the final time this season. Aidan Lewthwaite brings us to the green flag. It looks like Theben might straight away get up into second place. That would be absolutely huge if he could straight away move up, and he has got past Craig Edwards straight off the start. Sam Sutton as well gets past Kane Ryder, Dixon past Thomas. Good start for Jordan Cullis as well. He's up 3 places up into 13th, but the leader is sprinting out in the lead. Even having to go defensive now against Edwards, and he just about holds on to it, but you can see the leader is sprinting out at the moment, already up to 1 second in these opening few corners, and it's a very good start after a big fear that we could potentially get a safety car. You can see Will Alton at top of the amateur drivers, Trent Thomas top of the pro drivers, as we go onto the back straight for the first time.
Yeah, really good jump from everyone. You know, no major issues. Keeping an eye on Nathan Huppertz. Sorry, he's already jumped 1 spot up from the start, so slowly working his way through. But the 33 cars getting around here tonight to not have any issues, especially through that opening turns. We see Lewthwaite with a little bit of a bobble there, and just spoken a bit too soon because Jason Dixon's just had it coming together with the tyre barrier and then been subsequently cleaned up on trying to get back started again.
Yeah, not sure who that was who went piling into him soon after, but hopefully not too much damage. Certainly have only seen Dixon fall significantly down the order. And the drivers start to get into rhythm. It's so tricky to overtake around this circuit. There's barely any obvious overtaking opportunities. Maybe turn 3 after the longest straight on the track. Huppertz is into the pits. Huppertz straight away into the pit lane. Now, is this just a strategy, Daniel, to get his pit stop out of the way and not have to, and then get some clean air, I guess, and get the pit stop out of the way? But that's a bold move straight on the first lap.
Yeah, I wouldn't be surprised if this is a strategy call here. I think it's a smart move. Gets him out of traffic to start with. He can focus on just banging in the laps and use that momentum to bring himself through. He's got his teammate and Warren Pickering around him as well, just to help in the event there is something come through later on. But that's probably a really smart opportunity at this moment. It's dropped him well out of any harm's way, and for any of the viewers who'd love to check it out, the SDK Gaming link, you can pull up the track map and see where everyone is. But I mean, he's only working his way into turn 2 now. We've got everyone coming up through the middle portion, the effective stadium section now. So he's in a really good spot here.
So Timothy Beeben running in second place. Huppertz needs to finish 4th to win the title. That's what we're talking about at the moment. But you would be shocked if something doesn't happen to Beeben, as something happens just behind Joshua Thomas, catching up to the back of Craig Edwards. There could be a move for 3rd and 4th places. Being so strong earlier in qualifying was Edwards, just struggling a bit more in the race. He's only 6 tenths of a second behind Beeben, to be honest. But Joshua Thomas looking very quick at the moment. First lap of the race for Aidan Lewthwaite. Seems to have a margin on everyone else out there. Clark has come into the pits as well. Might be worth keeping an eye out on where Clark comes back out onto circuit in comparison to Huppertz, who would dearly love to be able to jump straight away. Huppertz, by the way, still behind Warren Pickering. Those two drivers are top of the drivers who have come into the pits already, but I believe they are teammates, both there for Fusion Sim Racing, so they will swap if needs be. Now, will Clark stay ahead of these drivers? It's absolutely massive for Huppertz. He needs to try to make up a place straight away, and Clark is behind. And I believe Clark was ahead of Huppertz before the pit stop, so that kind of just shows the outlap they had. That's how powerful the clean air is. Yeah,
it was a really solid outlap for Huppertz. That being said, though, there was a little bit of a longer stop for that pit stop, so that did help him alternatively. But yeah, he's just got to keep motoring forward, and as he's got that clear track really in good spot. Further up the field, though, Harrison Sellers and Julian Clinton.
Third place. Edwards has dropped down to 5th momentarily, and Sutton tried to get past as well, but he's now been done by Kane Ryder, seemingly, for 5th place rider with a much better line. And now Sutton might lose another place here, and he does. So it looked like he might move past Edwards into 4th, and in the end he drops down to 7th.
Yeah, and we've got Edwards also diving into the lane as well. Some damage on the rear of that Ferrari, so in quickly to get that sorted. But this little battle group for 5th and 6th really starting to heat up now. With Sam Sutton, Ross Rizzo involved in it. Rizzo's teammate Trent Thomas, the Trick Esports also up there as well. So it's going to be a busy little pack, but while they do fight, it's only helping the guys further away extend their margin.
And this is really helping Nathan Huppertz as well. Of course, he'll be lapping significantly faster than these drivers at the moment in his bid to try to jump all of them with this early pit stop. But Edwards coming into the pits early, just trying to get out of this big pack. So Thomas up into 3rd place then. He must have made the move at the end of the back straight. There is Edwards. Edwards is still clear of Huppertz. In fact, has Huppertz had an issue? I think Huppertz has had an issue out there, because I'm seeing him as he retired. He's off the circuit, it's Huppertz, and this could be the end of the championship leaders championship campaign, because Nathan Huppertz seems to be out of the race.
Yeah, that'll be bitterly disappointing for their potentially connection issue, because I was watching the name jump up and down through the timing and scoring, and it was a little bit awkward to see what was going on, especially considering where he was in relation to his teammates. So that's very unfortunate for Nathan, and cruel way to finish out his championship if it is a network connection.
I think I can see on the screen. It's a little bit covered by the overlay at the moment. But yeah, Nathan Huppertz received through pit penalty an unacceptable level, which has ruled him out of the championship. Incredible. So Fieben just needs to finish this race pretty much, and he will become the champion. But absolute shame, because I think Huppertz could have perhaps got himself back up into that P4 that he needed to win the title, and Timothy Fieben well on course for the championship in this season 11 now. We're currently watching Julien Klimbusing. He's onto the back of Harrison Sellers at the moment. These guys started in 17th and 19th places respectively, but they're much higher than that yet, still yet to pit though.
Yeah, been really solid run here. Nice tidy battle between both of these two. A little further back, Tom Huggins, Adrian Vlock and Matt Morris trying to work their way up onto that fight as well. Morris actually got a really nice run off the back of Adrian Vlock's Fordzilla car, and we'll see if we can get a move done. He jinks to the inside. It's going to be a brave shot under brakes here, because too wide through here, it doesn't work, and Morris just has to concede a fraction.
Oh, that was mega close. I had to get all over the curve. Adrian Vlock, he's had some a little bit of an upturn of pace actually in recent rounds. He was strong at Montreal, and seems to be enjoying these very high-risk circuits at Montreal, where the walls are very close, and also here at Belle as well. He's up 7 places. Morris up 12 places, although you do know that, of course, as an elite driver, you also be a little bit higher than that. As we can see, one of the fours come in. That's Tom Huggan from 3rd place out of the amateur drivers, coming into the pits now.
As we watch Morris go through here, the Ford actually riding the curve, the road undulation very, very nicely. Ran that right out through the wall, which is a very easy spot to loop that around. We saw IndyCar, I believe it was last year, the safety car going around on the outlet. A little bit embarrassing there, but these guys working their way through. Vlock, once he was able to hold off Morris last time by, has extended just a margin of advantage his way, but Morris incredibly good under brakes, closing it down through the tight twisty section, and he's going to have a nice opportunity for a good run on the exit here.
Yeah, here we go. It's just not long enough though for him to really start to gain any time in the draft. Block just takes a slightly wider line and kind of ends any hope of the move. Runs wide and hits the wall hard, does Adrian Vlock. Now he can come into the pits. I believe these drivers have a faster pair available. They do. So I expect Vlock to peel on into the pits, because the steering on that machine cannot be very good anymore.
No, it will have hurt a little bit, so we'll keep an eye as to whether we do see him drop through the lane. Further up, Klimbusing and Sellers still going at it, and this fight's been going on now for 3 to 4 laps, and we did get word too through from Ryan Kolstad advising that for Tim Fieben, it's not a done deal yet. He still needs to manage that top 10 finish in order to take home the championship, with the unfortunate demise there of Nathan Huppertz.
Yeah, so he needs to keep it on track, which is a lot easier said than done round Belle. I imagine he'll probably leave his pit stop until the absolute latest point, just so they've got that faster pair available, just so that if he does hit the wall, as we saw a Vlock hit the wall a few moments ago, then he does always have that available. But here comes Thomas, Joshua Thomas, who's got very little to lose, and he might be able to get past it going into this round. Joshua Thomas, he's had a very good season. Actually, I say that he is a little bit further down. Jen Thomas in 3rd place, but Joshua Thomas a little bit further down. By the way, going into this round, top of the amateur drivers was Tom Huggan, so he looked well on course for winning that championship as well. On top of the pro drivers, we have elites in the purple, by the way, and then green is the pro. Amber is the amateur drivers, and then we also have red for rookie, but I don't believe we have any rookies out there today. Adrian Vlock, by the way, coming into, well, having some connection issues, it turns out. Now does come into the pits, does Adrian Vlock to fix that damage. And yes, it does look like Huggan's going to win the amateur championship. There's almost a move for 2nd position. Thomas gets his car down the inside, and Fieben lets it go easy. And that was that a mistake there, Daniel? That seemed a very strange line from Fieben.
Yeah, it looked like Fieben just couldn't get the car slowed down enough for the entry through to 2 there. Did have to avoid, and I think in that instance, it would have been the better part to run wide as he did, rather than try and rotate the car back a little bit further, ultimately get that contact. So he's definitely got the championship play in mind, and no doubt he's got a lot of word come through from his team supporting him about that, with what had happened to Nathan earlier, and just advising him, give up the easy ones if you can. You've still got a long way to go and to fight for it. We're already 10 minutes down here, but very surprised that we haven't seen a safety car yet, because I know that was the big talking point going into this race, with the walls so close together. Were we going to get one? Now, we haven't had it yet, and fingers crossed we don't, but the guys are pushing extremely hard at the moment.
I'm sure Phoeben would like a nice serene try just to the end of the race with no troubles whatsoever. But you do sense that something could happen later on. Will Alton up into 5th place, but he's got Sutton sitting on his back bumper. Of course, we did see earlier on Craig Edwards come into the pits. By the way, fast up the race just for Hugh Barter. He hasn't come into the pits yet, Hugh Barter, for ERT. I don't know why he's so far down, but he just did a 25.7, which is a couple of tenths faster than the race leader. Also, doesn't seem to have the front end of his car. Don't know how he was going so quick. Let's see what this lap time is. Does a 27.01, which is very average there for Hugh. So that was his moment of fame. But is trying to recover back out there at the moment. Has he done the fastest lap of the race without the front part of his car?
No, not at this point. Quickest lap we've got is actually, I think it might have been, but I don't think it was quite the valid lap there. We're 125.7, so 3 tenths quicker than what we see from Aidan Lewthwaite, as Matt Morris actually gets a move done too, with Harris Sellers running very wide there through the little stadium section, gets the lights flashing, so a little bit of a mistake there, but a lot of work to do. Martin Crisp has also gone around on the entry there. He's going to need to be careful not to get collected, and we'll see if we can get a look at what happened there under replay.
Oh, sped so far off. He once ended back in his home country. There it was. And that was, fortunately for him, not too much damage. Harrison Bale, eventual Bale, so he then goes into the wall, Bales. He certainly overdrove that one massively. I don't think he's hit it yet, at least Bell, so he will be able to use that fast repair. Of course, when you come into this, you don't have to use the fast repair, but it's probably recommended. You may as well take it, because you will usually scrape the wall a few times around this circuit. Even if you don't pick up any significant damage, you will still just bend the fenders off a little bit.
Yeah, I think for a lot of these drivers, they're probably going to want to realistically hang on to that as much as possible, because in the event we do get something, I guess the last thing you want to have done is gone and spent that fast repair when you potentially may not have needed to. And unless you're getting big, heavy wheel-to-wheel contact or into the wall like we just saw there before for Mitch Bales, I reckon you'll be wanting to hang on to that. Bales also, just seeing from race control, will get a penalty for that collision with Martin Chris that we just saw on the replay as well.
Exciting news from iRacing, along with all the other stuff that they are releasing next week. Drive-through penalties will be available for the first time for stewards to give out, and I just wonder maybe if that would be something that the organisers decide to incorporate for next season. That you can give that as an iRacing command. Certainly do check out all of the stuff that iRacing are releasing, along with the BMW M4 GT4 and the Indy Lights cars, plenty of other stuff. Thomas into the pits. Big question is, will he stay ahead of I guess he'll stay ahead of Edwards, I imagine. I don't think Edwards will get too close to him, and he is miles ahead of Edwards. I say that he's 3 cars clear of Edwards, but he's only about 3 seconds clear. But that is quite comfortable for him, and that's good news as well for Phoeben. He will try to now overcut the driver who just came into the pits. Ross Rizzo now moves up into 8th place. He's on the back of Jordan Carson. This race is pretty much turning out as we expected, Daniel, overtaking at a premium.
Yeah, overtaking around here is very, very key, and I mean it's a struggling point to do, because you're in the tight, twisty confines of a concrete canyon. There's no real opportunity to run the cars as wide as what we'd see at a traditional circuit, say like Road America, for instance, where you've got a lot of flowing corners. Here you've got that tightness of the walls, throw into it the bumps and undulations that are in the circuit here as well. It's very old, and iRacing have done a fantastic job to scan it to the level of detail that they have. But I mean, that throws up a huge amount of element. The guys don't get the opportunity also to make the setup adjustments. As we've said, it is a fixed setup that the drivers all get provided. They're all on equal footing, and it's one of those little factors you take out. You don't get to tweak the little bit of ride control, and it's who can adapt the quickest. And we're seeing that already tonight. Rizzo looks like he's found some form in the car. We know he's struggled a little bit over the course of the championship here, not quite able to get that move done on Cullis down into 2. But the Ferrari looking very, very handy out there tonight.
Yeah, he's looking quick. So that's a great livery once again from Trick Esports. I haven't even I got the most recent paint, so I don't know if he's changed it. But I swear that's a different livery to what he's had previously. But it does look extremely great. So Rizzo was very close into 3. I thought he might actually go for an overtake, but decides to back out of it. Didn't feel the need to go for it just yet. And at the end of the back straight again, doesn't decide to pull out and try to upgrade his rival. Tom Huggan is going to lose out, and now there's a spin for Matt Morris. You've done so well to gain many, many places, Morris. Has already come into the pits. But that is a costly mistake for him, just down to 22nd. Here he was. He had the move done on Huggan, but locking up the rears, was that?
I think that was just a little bit of exit oversteer right there, because it was right at the very end of the corner complex, and either maybe couldn't get the car settled a little bit mid-corner and a bit of oversteer, but not much that Huggan could have done to avoid that. As we checked the onboard, actually it was curb strike that ultimately upset that car as much as it did. So one of those things where the guys have got to be really cautious of at the moment, and unfortunately for Morris, did come out and bite him hard in that aspect. Kane Ryder, though, now up into 3rd, up 2 spots already. He's got Tim Phoeben just ahead of him in Lewthwaite Esports team, and good showing here. We saw Phoeben under a lot of pressure earlier on, and then as everyone else has subsequently come in for their stops, he's been given a little bit of a breath of fresh air, but Ryder's going to be hard charging to look for 2nd place now.
Even must have made a mistake or something, because he was quite far clear of Ryder previously. Not seeing any mistake on this lap or the last lap. See, they did lose 3/10 on the last lap, and I think about 3/10 on this lap so far. But this is dangerous right now for Phoeben. This is really dangerous. Remember that Edwards might be able to jump him potentially. We know that he'll be behind the car of Thomas as well, most likely. And so if he loses out to the likes of Ryder and Orton, all of a sudden that top 10 is in a bit of jeopardy. So it's extremely a tricky situation at the moment. Ryder decides to stay out. No need for the pit stop yet. Now driver comes out of the pits just in front, and that is a back marker. It does slow up Phoeben a little bit, but he just about had a big enough gap so that he won't be under pressure into turn 3. Gap coming down to 3.5 tenths of a second now. John Cullis as well coming into the pits from 2nd place out of the amateur drivers.
Yeah, and that car entering back into the circuit, that was Lee Vandenberg. So he just stepped aside, let everyone come through on the hot tyres. He'll get back underway. He's got Jeremy Clark just a bit ahead, and this little forecast site starting to look quite nice. Just behind this little fight with Phoeben and Ryder, Sam Sutton has closed right up almost to Will Alton again, and we saw Sutton having a little bit of difficulty only a few laps ago, but he's got that car settled, and it's a strong showing for him tonight, and our current lead Porsche out on circuit as well.
Do I recall Sutton almost getting a 2nd place in AOSC around this track?
I believe
or was that
so.
someone else? I think it was Sutton.
I think it might have been from memory, yeah. I mean, he's very adept in the V8 supercar, and has since come across, actually still dabbles in the V8, it must be fair, and come across to do the GT stuff, and really taken to it to a duck like water, I think. We did have a chat with him earlier through the course of the season. He said that 2 were somewhat comparable, but obviously a lot more grip and downforce available with these GT cars at the moment, which he's loving, having the ability to exploit.
So is very apt as well around this around these street circuits. Is seemingly is Sutton. He looks really quick at the moment. I mean, whenever I've seen his guy, he looks really confident, taking the curbs as if they're nothing, but just stuck in that place. We really wonder if he'd been able to get past Edwards earlier on for 4th place, where he would be now. Yeah, I think he'd be potentially fighting for 2nd place with Phoebe. Instead, he's stuck at the moment just in 5th place. Huppertz, he did set the fastest lap of the race earlier on. He is catching up to Jordan Cullis at the moment. Cullis just did 34.49, although that is because he came into the pits, I believe. Bart's still yet to come into the pits, which is surprising because you think he'd want to fix that damage. Just did a 30.4, did Bart. So that fastest lap of the road, maybe it was a glitch from our system, because Bart, who's a driver who I haven't seen a whole lot of. Very strange if you managed to set the fastest lap. That may have been a problem on our end, I must confess. Drive through penalty for Mitchell Bales for causing a collision. That was back on lap 9, and that's pretty much what we thought previously. Sutton into the pits. Now that's dangerous for Phoebe because Sutton, like I said, looks quick, and he's gone for the undercut.
Yeah, it's not a bad idea there because he was starting to close up on Will Orton, and we know he'd had a couple of little issues earlier on, so gets him out of that sequence. He can come back into it. He's got pretty good space around the car yet to drop, and off it goes now. So he will filter back into 12th position when it's all said and done. Looks like behind Jeremy Clark, actually Craig Edwards, sorry, so he'll jump into the 11th position. And yeah, looking quite handy at this point. Actually, apologies, it's 9th. So, yeah, even ahead of where I was looking on the circuit. So, no, he's in a good position at the moment. Huppertz also down the lane, likewise for Jordan Cullis also.
So he's jumped Edwards, hasn't he? Edwards was ahead of Sutton previously. But Edwards must have just been quite slow. Oh, well, I think actually Edwards was stuck in some traffic previously. He did come out of the pits in some traffic. And I just wondered if that cost him for a couple of laps. And so that early pit stop for Edwards, remember he was right in the mix there, he was just at the head of that train for 4th place. Hasn't worked for him that early pit stop, and now Sutton has jumped him as you would expect a lot. So I imagine Edwards is going to go from 4th place down to about 8th by the end of the pit stop sequence. By the way, out in the lead, we haven't really spoken about him all day long because we've got a championship to decide. There's lots of other close fighting, but no close fighting here. Aidan Lewthwaite dominating at the moment, nearly 6 seconds clear for Synergy Sim Racing, ahead of Timothy Beaven. But no, he's been absolutely perfect so far. Always a risk of binning it potentially, but we are halfway through this event, and so far he's been faultless, and that is how the gap has marginally increased over the past few laps.
Yeah, it's been a really good season for Lewthwaite there. In the races that we've seen him since he's transitioned from RSR Esports over to Synergy Sim Racing, he's been very, very adapted to that car and getting on with it quite nicely. Oh, actually, weirdly, Sam Sutton back in the lane for another stop as well. So is that a little issue there for him potentially, because he's dropped further down the order as well now. But yeah, Aidan Lewthwaite, what can we say? I mean, he's been very clean in that car, coming on stronger and stronger. Just a bit unfortunate we haven't seen him get to all the available rounds, but he could have definitely been in for a fight, and I guess we'll be hoping for bigger and better things for him for next season as well.
So many guys in this stage that you kind of look at them and you look at certainly individual performances across the season, you think they could certainly fight for the championship. It is one of the most competitive championships on all of the iRacing Esports Network, on all of iRacing. And fortunately, big crash. That's Morris again. That Morris, who's worked so hard after poor qualifying to work his way up, got himself into a good position, but then had that spin at turn 3, and he's had another rather large off there. And to see, that's a dangerous rejoin as well. Turn the traction control off, come on. That was almost into the race leader as well. Don't take out the championship contender as well. Timothy Phoeben either, dearie me. So yeah, rubbish final day for Morris.
Yeah, and he's yet to get that car turned around as well. I know Race Control by looks giving him all available opportunity to do so. He has got it moving. Actually, he's still stationary there. He's going to drop well down the order, currently down into 30th position, trying to get that car rotated. So yeah, it's a day that's gone from bad to worse. He has got it moving now, so I don't think we'll get our safety car, which we potentially could have had. I think it was good play by the stewards to allow that one to go through and for him to get the ability to turn that around. So Good on them. Aaron Dodd having a good run as well. Up 10 spots from where he started, currently in 19th position. Putting in some pretty good lap times, it must be said. 2:06.9 last time by. So the BMW working very nicely in his hands at the moment.
Lots of amateur drivers doing well in the top 21 places, as you can see at the moment. It's rare that we see quite as many of them doing so well. Often the top 20 is dominated by pro and elite drivers. It's not today. There's plenty of drivers mixing around. But Will also as well up in 4th place, really mixing it with the big boys, which is you can see how competitive to gain the championship is. We will be broadcasting this on the iRacing Esports Network next season, I believe. So if you've enjoyed the action so far, do subscribe to the iRacing Esports Network, and then you'll be able to see all the action for next season. And also there's going to be a special event next week. Not sure if that'll be on the Esports Network. If, to catch that one for certain, do go to Apex Racing TV as well. There are plenty more broadcasts as well that we show. Certainly do recommend it. Clark and Sutton are very close to one another. Sutton, I'm not sure if Sutton actually was stationary when he came into the pits for the second time. I think he may have just trundled down the pits and not actually stopped the car at all. He was in the pits for 24 seconds, I am seeing. So maybe just a drive-through penalty or something.
Yeah, more than likely, because it's still registering the one stationary time that he did take there. So a little bit unsure what had gone on there. We might be able to find out later on from race control as to what happened. So we'll check that out. But he's on a bit of a recovery drive now. Got to get himself back up. We did see him come out 9th after the initial run through the lane. So he's got a little bit of work to do there for him as well. Just got word too through from Nathan Huppertz, who, remember, he unfortunately was in the battle for the championship there. We thought he might have had the connection issue, but it sounds like he had a iRacing glitch which ultimately crashed the game and or the sim, and he was unfortunately not able to continue at this point. Harris Sellers coming under a huge amount of fire at the moment too from Josh Thomas, as these guys start scrapping over 7th position now.
Yeah, look at how that gap has absolutely been crushed down, hasn't it? Sellers yet to come into the pits, and there goes Thomas, who is top of the drivers who have pitted so far. Thomas's last lap time was a 25.96. He's passing with Timothy Phoeben pretty much, who just did a 26.45. Strong for Thomas. I think at the moment he would be in 2nd place. Haven't kept a particularly close eye on it. That is just comparing one lap time, but I think at the moment he would be in 2nd. I don't think he'll be able to put too much pressure on Lewthwaite. However, drivers should be able to go a long way into this race. It's a very low fuel consumption circuit. Of course, you're off the throttle for the vast, well, maybe not the vast majority of it, but pretty much half the circuit you're on full throttle, and so should be shouldn't be using a whole lot of fuel for this 45-minute race. So pit stops should have to be made within the next 10 minutes or so. The fuel tank should be able to last. Sellers does come into the pits now for his pit stop. You can see on the timing tower, top 6 still yet to opt in.
Sam Sutton has now made his way past Jeremy Clark as well, so promotes himself back up to 11th position. Sorry, so it's been a good opportunity there for him to get back through. Here's a replay of him going through. So got the nice run through into turn 2, hard up into the braking zone there. Just gains that little bit of advantage and able to almost get the block pass done. Grabs a little bit of curb, which, if you remember correctly, is where we saw Morris have his initial spin on the exit early on in the race, but the Porsche looking very, very handy off those curbs at the moment.
What could have been for Sam Sutton? I really think he could have got a podium out of today's event. Probably not would have been able to battle with Lewthwaite and Thomas, but 3rd place undercutting Ryder and Phoeben and Kate would have been very possible for him. Lewthwaite comes into the pits, so Phoeben will take the lead, if not for temporarily. Lewthwaite then just needs it shouldn't be too much race for Lewthwaite. He's got plenty of time to spare, and so should be stationed for about about 15 seconds, I believe. Needs to start pulling away pretty soon. Ooh, 12.87. it's a longer pit stop, and where is Thomas going to be in comparison to this? This is going to be close between Lewthwaite and Thomas, and Lewthwaite just stays ahead. But Thomas, who we were saying was pretty quick, Lewthwaite puts too much fuel into the car, and that was very close. So the gap's gone from 6 seconds down to 6 tenths.
Yeah, it's a really good set of runs there through the field for Josh Thomas, and he's been putting in some fantastic laps throughout the course of this early phase of the second stint there. And I mean, last time by a 206.05, a 126.05 comparative to his best lap of 125.7. So he's certainly got something in the car at the moment. The tyres have come up to fantastic pressure. As you can see, riding through the onboard down into turn 7, closes up just a fraction on the BMW. The braking very, very good for that car. Gets nice run through the curves. And then here through the infield section, the car just seems a little bit better. He's able to get the nose down onto the apex. Lewthwaite's tyres still getting up to temperature after that, or coming back up to temperature after that stop. But for Thomas here, working very, very nicely. And we've also got our remaining top 4 coming into the lane. Top 5 now with Klimbasink also in there. So Phoebe Ryder, Orton, Rizzo and Klimbasink all down the lane for their respective stops now.
So maybe that was the limit of fuel. If that was the case, I was certainly wrong with them for thinking that they could go a bit longer to maybe the 40-minute mark. So these guys will take back the lead. Phoebe only just behind though, isn't he? But Phoebe in 3rd place still. Lewthwaite retakes the lead. Thomas in 2nd. Phoebe remains in 3rd. So it's pretty much the same as what it was previously. Ryder in 4th. And Orton in 5th. Edwards drops down to 6th because he was running. Oh wait, he started on the front row of the grid, did Edwards, obviously. But before the pit stops, he was running in 4th position, I believe. So that hasn't worked out for him, that early pit stop. But all of a sudden, we've gone from 6 seconds between the top 2 to 6 seconds between 1st and 6th. So it's really competitive at the moment. You can see Rizzo as well in 7th. Remember, Phoebe just needs to finish in the top 10 in order to win this championship, and at the moment that looks very comfortable for him. But oh, this is tasty. 12 minutes to go. Thomas seems to have the advantage. He's just got to find a way to get past Lewthwaite.
Yeah, Thomas has really come on strong through this second phase of the race. The car looking very, very nice. He's able to get it up into those apexes, which seems like Lewthwaite is just struggling a little bit through that initial phase, 7, 8 and 9 at the moment. But these two are going to really start scrapping out. 0.3 of a second between both of them. They've got 2 seconds in hand over Tim Phoebe, so a little bit of room to play as they scrap it out. But very, very spicy between these two.
Orton right onto the back of Ryder, but this could turn into a 6-car train potentially if these top 2 start battling. But at the moment, their lap times are fine. Lewthwaite with a 26.37 on that last tour, which is a solid lap time. I don't think he was going to be able to catch them particularly quick, but look at Thomas almost showing the nose again. Seems like turn 2 is going to be his best opportunity, or sorry, turn 3 is going to be his best opportunity to pass. And just piling on the pressure around this Belle circuit is often all you can do. Just force them into a mistake, really make them go very tight. And of course, as the leader in this situation, you've got so much to lose. You're desperate not to put it into the wall. You don't want to fall victim to the pressure. That's the driver behind us exerting onto you. But you've got to, just try to keep it out to the walls at the moment. 3.5 tenths of a second is the gap. But Phoebe isn't catching up. This gap's still 2.4 seconds back to Phoebe. And Thomas once again very close on this part of the track. Just needs to get to, if he's within 3 tenths coming out of turn 2, then I think that's when the opportunity is going to open up for him. But that's a lot easier said than done.
Yeah, and just keeping an eye on the sector times for all these guys. There's only, particularly these two, there's only hundredths of a second between it through each sector. There's not much between them at all. So they're not losing time, but they're able to still battle quite sharply as well. Thomas seems to be dropping just way a fraction. Lewthwaite's tyres back up to temperature. He's able to start getting the laps in. Last time by a hundredth of a second between both of them. So not much in it at all, but if anything, potentially starting to swing back a little bit to Lewthwaite. We do have some lap traffic though up ahead, which will potentially come into play here very, very soon. But I would like to think that they're going to allow this fight to continue on. So look for these guys to just step aside as they work their way down onto the back straight. But this is a good opportunity for Thomas here if he wants to get this move done. Utilising that lap down traffic to his advantage might help.
Good job from the driver who was a lap down Pat Galley. Didn't jump off the racing line, but very much made his intentions clear to the two leaders. I wonder if we could get up the track map, just see who else they are going to come across these two leaders. Not a whole lot. 23rd and 24th, which is Marston Crispin, Mitchell, Bales. They might be able to catch by the end of the race, although I think that's pushing it. I doubt they will be able to catch them by the end. So it should be a clean run to the end. Undoubtedly, if this was one of the Enduros, then it would be a bit more tricky. I don't think this race is on the IMSA schedule next season. The series continues to follow the IMSA schedule. So certainly if you are down under and you race a lot of IMSA, why not sign up for this series? Because then you might be able to get onto the broadcast. You'll certainly be able to find a race which is very evenly matched to you, and of course you will already have experience around this track. Now this is as close as we've seen Thomas get 0.25 seconds. That was never really a move. Is that just trying to scare Lewthwaite a little bit there, Daniel? Because he never looked like he was going to go for the dive.
No, I think he's just trying to show that he wants to get the move done. I guess if I was in that situation, I'd be hanging through as close as possible, close right up behind, and then give it that surprise attack. The more he starts showing the nose, the more opportunity Lewthwaite's going to be, or thinking that he can start pushing that car a metre or two here and there over a bit more and eventually get it to the centre of the road where you've basically shut off any opportunity for that pass. So, well, I can understand why Thomas is looking to show the nose. Might just need to just think about pulling it in just for a few more laps, get that gap down to absolute zero and fire one down there in a couple of laps' time.
We were watching the Apex Racing League GT Championship the other day at Barcelona. It was kind of a similar situation to this, where the driver in second place, it was around Barcelona, so another tricky circuit to overtake, although admittedly easier than this place. And the driver in second place just got a bit impatient and went for a banzai move from about 3/10 back down into turn 5 around that track. I just wonder if Thomas will kind of go for the same thing, where once a small opportunity opens up, he'll go for it out of fear that a better opportunity won't open up until the end of the race. So I do fear if they do make contact later on. This is very close as well, with Phoeben actually dropping back all of a sudden into Ryder on this lap. He's just lost 1/10 through the first sector, then 2/10 through the second sector. And that's only 30 seconds of lap. I mean, that's not a big part of the track. So also Phoeben's struggling a little bit. I don't know, should he let these guys go? He doesn't need this podium by any means, Daniel. Would you just be lifting off and letting these three guys behind you pass you?
No, I think you'd still make it as hard as possible. We've already seen over the course of the 40 minutes so far just how difficult it is for these guys to get a move. And if you can position the car where you need to, it's almost near impossible for them to get through. So I don't think he needs to lift it off and let them go through. That being said, the guys behind, do they go that banzai move and try and get something done? Because potentially that could have ramifications. So it's a little bit of catch-22. Do you do it? Do you don't? You're damned if you do, damned if you don't kind of situation. So I think for Phoeben right now, he just needs to knuckle down. Don't worry about looking in the mirrors. Just get the laps going and continue on the pace he's doing. He's still putting in some very solid lap times at the moment. Last time through to a 1:26.7. So he's not slow by any means. He's just got to keep banging those consistencies in closer up the front. However, Thomas is getting back into that zone. Nose comes out again, just a little too early. Gap 0.3 of a second. So he's pushing on, and he's got to get something conjured up here in the next 5 minutes if he wants to take the lead of this race.
I think he's becoming more comfortable following Phoeben now. I think he knows where to turn in, because these BMWs are big cars, and it's such fine margins around this Belle circuit. And so when your vision is impaired, when you're right up the rear wing of another driver, it's really tricky. But I think he's now almost, he could almost drive this circuit blind as he goes down the inside. Oh, that was the closest we've seen for a change for the lead. But there just wasn't the space on the inside. However, it gets right back up to the back of Lewthwaite. We know Lewthwaite is fine on fuel because he took more fuel at the pit stop. So don't worry about his situation in terms of fuel. I think Tom should be fine as well. He's now just looking at every single corner Remember, 3/10 coming out of turn 2, and he should be in with a good chance. Of course, maybe it's not quite as simple as that. Needs to have a good run as well coming out of turn 2, because the slipstream effect really doesn't offer you a whole lot in these GTE cars. As we move on to lap 29, we're going to get 2 more laps in after this one. And it's a good run for Thomas, actually, coming out of that corner, trying to quickly adjust slightly. It's Lewthwaite, leaves the inside well open, less than 3/10 of a second on the brakes, but a bit further back than he was on the last lap. He runs wide though. That's a compromised exit for Lewthwaite. Thomas can't do anything with it, but now we'll get the cutback again. This is an opportunity into this corner. He looks to the inside. Thomas goes for it down the inside for the lead. It doesn't quite happen for him. But Lewthwaite cannot afford to have little mistakes like that. He just ran it in a bit deep into 3, and he put himself in all kinds of danger.
Yeah, well, that was a really tough exit there. Lewthwaite did everything he had to do to try and keep the car back, but as you say, ultimately compromised on the exit there. Thomas, very keen to that, had a fairly solid crack to try and get that move done, just not able to get it closed off and squared away. But he's got a couple more laps. He'll get that move looked in again, no doubt. Josh Dixon down in 13th at the moment for Sims Spec Engineering, closing back up to Lee Vandenberg, who we saw a little while ago, about probably 15 minutes ago when he came through for his stop as well, coming back out onto the circuit. Probably not the best night that Lee's had out there. Still in 12th position, the car looking very nice for the Mark 1 Esports team, but just struggling a little bit probably with the car setup and maybe the circuit as well. Not quite able to get the most out of it tonight.
Lead is pretty close again, just going through turn 2. There's a car in the wall, and that is Trent Thomas. Round at the penultimate corner. And this is how it happened. He did have pretty close to the back of him. There he goes deep. And heads off into the wall right there. Just promote Sutton up into 9th place. It was really close going through turns 1 and 2 with Thomas. He managed to get the gap across the start-finish line to just quarter of a second. It's down to 2/10 now. Gonna have to go defensive now as Lewthwaite. He does leave part of the track open on the inside. Goes for the dummy, does Thomas, and he has got the inside. He goes for it too, and they both go off, but Thomas is past. Lewthwaite had to turn out of the corner. He had to straight line it because Thomas was not stopping, and we will see if the stewards deem that if Thomas has to give up the position there. But it was that situation. He got so close. He went for the dummy. He fooled me. He fooled Lewthwaite. He got to the inside. And from that position, he was not going to give his rival any opportunity. Here we are. So he went to the outside. There was a bit of a gap on the inside. Then goes for it. He was a little bit behind. Takes loads of curb. And, of course, would have put Lewthwaite into the wall if Lewthwaite hadn't have turned out of it. But that was hard racing there, undoubtedly, between the top 2. And it's now Joshua Thomas leading for Fishy Motorsports.
Yeah, that'll be a tough one for the stewards to call because he really had the momentum on the way down there. There wasn't a lot of room on the inside because we saw him go over the curb as much as he did to get that car turned across. And
into the wall, it's Lewthwaite. He's hit the tyre barrier.
And that doesn't look to have hurt the car too much. The wheels still look in a reasonably straight line. I don't know if we can potentially get a jump on board just to check the straightness, but that does present an opportunity now for Tim Phoeben, Pan Rider, Will Orton and Craig Edwards to come back in and have a go. Here's the onboard. The wheel looks pretty straight at this point, so I think he's got away with that one just with that glancing blow, but Lewthwaite's gone from leader of the race to potentially now going to lose a spot down to 3rd position if he can't get that recovered and squared away.
He should be on the last lap of the race. 20 seconds to go. It's looking very good for Timothy Phoeben as well to take the title. Down to 10 seconds. This will be the last lap. Joshua Thomas, though, out in the lead. He started in 4th position. He soon got up into 3rd. Then he managed to pull off the move on Phoeben as well. And then he pulled off the move on Lewthwaite as well. He's going to reach the checker flag first. Joshua Thomas for Fishy Motorsports wins the season finale of the Aussie Mixed and Fixed GT Championship ahead of Aidan Lewthwaite. Timothy Phoeben, though, is your champion for this season. He outscores Nathan Huppertz by enough points, and Timothy Phoeben is the Aussie Mixed and Fixed GT Season 11 champion. Congratulations to him. That 3rd place was comfortably enough to get the points that he needed. Behind them, Vandenberg in 11th, beating Dixon and Sellers to the line. And there they are. Huggan finishes a 14th place. I think that confirms the amateur championship as well for Tom Huggan. So congratulations to him. It wasn't quite the craziness that we saw last season at Road Atlanta, I would say, Daniel, right there. But I think that's one of the races we've seen, one of the best races we've seen all season. That the tension there from Thomas chasing after Lewthwaite for what 10 minutes or so, and finally managed to get past. It was absolutely a fantastic rivalry between the two.
Yeah, it was a really solid effort. I mean, I know throughout the course of the week there was a lot of back and forward around guys wanting to have a really solid race and get the most out of it. And I think we've seen that tonight. We had that fantastic scrap to nearly to the end of the race there after the pit stop for Thomas and Lewthwaite. Unfortunate for Lewthwaite getting done and then almost potentially losing a spot to third, which he was able to hold on to. But it was a solid run, and then to have it finish out for the championship the way it did. Really unfortunate we couldn't see Nathan Huppertz get into it. He had those unfortunate system issues which prevented him continuing on tonight. But for Tim Phoeben, take your hat off to him. He's done a fantastic job throughout the course of the season and comes home with the goods at the end of the championship.
So you can see that message on the screen. So car 7766, which was Joshua Thomas, issued to address to 997. So Joshua Thomas will finish in second place. Aidan Lewthwaite then will be your race winner. So it was deemed that move down at the end of the back straight was not within the rules, and there has been a post-race change. So in the end, Thomas still finishes in second place. It wasn't a hefty penalty, but it is Aidan Lewthwaite then who will take the spoils for this final round of the championship. Hopefully we'll get a word from the pair of them very soon, along with our championship winner as well, which would be absolutely insightful. So the race results then from this round 12 at Belle, and it is a race win then for Aidan Lewthwaite. Forget what that says. It was so close to Thomas, stood on the brakes as well across the line. Maybe to redress it, I don't know. Indianapolis 2002 and in F1-esque. So Thomas does not win. He finishes in second place. Aidan Lewthwaite wins because of the redress, undoing that overtake that Thomas made. Timothy Phoeben is your champion though. Third place. Enough points with the retirement for Nathan Huppertz. Congratulations to Phoeben and Mach 1 Esports on that accomplishment. Kane Ryder finishes in fourth. Great result for the amateur driver Will Orton in fifth. Craig Edwards from the front row of the grid only finished 1.8 seconds off the lead in the end, but wasn't quite the race that Edwards wanted. Then it was Ross Rizway, Julian Plain-Boostink, Sam Sutton. What could have been for Sutton? I mean, he would have been right there for the race win if it weren't for a little bit of shuffling down in the early stages and then also an extra pit stop for him. Jeremy Clark was in 10th, then it's Lee Vandenberg, Jason Dixon, Harrison Sellers, Tom Huggan, Adrian Block, Nick Sanfilippo, Aaron Dodd, Simon Nicholson, Brett Wilson, Adam Gardner, Damon Mulqueen, Martin Crisp, Mitchell Bales, Pat Gallo, Trent Thomas, Peter Hunter, Blake Delaney, Hugh Barter, Paul Wood, Matt Morris, Jordan Cullis, Warren Pickering, Nathan Huppertz, and that was everyone actually. The rest were all stewards. So the results then. Sorry, we've just done the results. Deary me, it's been a long season. The interviews then for this round 12 of the championship, and first up then, I guess. Oh, who are we gonna? Well, we'll have a chat with Aidan Lewthwaite first, because after some confusion, he is the race winner for today. Congratulations, Aidan. First up, we've got to talk about it. That incident with a couple of laps to go.
Yeah. Obviously, I think Josh had quite a bit of pace. It was quite a good race towards the end of that race. And yeah, he made the move down the inside. It was a very respectable move. Coming down the back straight, but the stewards decided to call it as a redress, which I'd like to thank him for that as well. Very good sportsmanship towards the end of that race, and yeah, it was good fun as well.
Absolutely. So in the opening stages, it looks so comfortable for you. I mean, you had a 6-second lead, everything was going very smoothly, and then all of a sudden coming out of the pits, your lead was down to about half a second. Were you expecting it to be that close coming out of the pits?
No, to be honest, I looked at Josh behind me, and I thought, because I think he was around a couple of cars that were a lap down, I thought that I didn't actually think I was fighting him for position until I actually checked the relative to see that, we were actually racing. So yeah, it was quite a surprise. It was quite a slow stop for me as well. More so, I sort of lost a lot of time on the entrance, which is probably something I need to practice. But yeah, definitely something I wasn't expecting.
And how would you sum up your season? I think this maybe your second race win of the season. I'm not quite sure. But yeah, how would you sum up your 12 rounds?
I think it was very up and down, I would say. It's taken me a little while to get used to the car. Obviously, I was in the Ferrari last season, and I decided to switch to the BMW. So it's taken me a bit of time and a lot of practice to really master the BMW. But yeah, very up and down, and I'm very happy to, finish it off with a win.
Absolutely. Congratulations on the race win, Aiden. Is there anyone you'd like to give a shout out to?
Yeah, I'd like to thank all my teammates at Synergy Sim Racing, as well as our sponsors, JK Science, Smith & Sons Renovations, as well as BK Designs, DM Sim Photography, Posies Mechanical, CSR Fabrications, and DGD Customs.
Awesome. Thanks for having a chat with us, Aiden, and hope to see you back very soon.
Yep, no worries. Thank you, guys. Thank you.
So that was Aiden Lewthwaite, your race winner for today. Daniel, who would you like to have a talk with?
Well, let's bring up our second placeman, Joshua Thomas. And here he is. Josh, you came in to the championship, had a very solid run early on. Come out after the pit stop, you found yourself right there or thereabouts with Aiden Lewthwaite. And then we saw a fantastic scrap between you guys for the last 15 minutes. Ultimately, there was a little bit of contact through the move, but which the racing stewards have come through and looked at afterwards. But leading up to that, you looked like you were coming into some prime opportunity to get a move done. What were your thoughts on where you were a little bit quicker than Aiden was throughout the course of that final stint?
Can you guys hear me?
Yep.
Yeah, awesome. Aiden was a bit tentative on the brakes in the two big braking zones at the end of the first kind of straight and the back straight as well. I thought it was going to be in there, but I think he kind of had the mindset of win it or bin it, so I kind of had to be all the way up the inside, otherwise we were both going around. So I was kind of trying to have a suss towards the infield part of the track because it was looking a bit difficult towards the end of those straights. So there wasn't too much thought in the end. It's just he defended and I saw a gap and I thought, let's just give it a crack.
Yeah, and the car looked very good off the exit of turn 2 across the rise on the run down into turn 3 there. And we saw you show the nose quite a few times. We were a little bit worried that might have maybe given the game away for Lewthwaite and he might have gone a little bit more defensive. But ultimately, he had that little bit of an issue which slowed him up and you got down the inside. Turning to your thoughts for the whole season, we've seen you coming along really well. Fishy Motorsports have grown in speed and stature throughout the course of this championship. How have you found it personally and also the team?
It looks like we've lost him.
Yeah, it might have been a connection issue.
Yeah, he's completely gone. I mean, we're not that bad. Come on, guys. I guess we will move on to the next interview then and maybe get a chat with him a little bit later on. So next up, we will talk with our championship winner, Timothy Phoeben, who finished in 3rd position today, which was the points that he needed for the title. Congratulations, Timothy. How does it feel to finally get your hands on that trophy?
Yeah, pretty unreal, to be honest. Yeah, bit of a surreal feeling, but yeah, it took the pressure off at the start with Huppy. I think he had technical issues and met the fence and just sort of meant that I could focus and just hit apexes, and I wasn't keen to race really any other boys. I just wanted to sort of hold my position, but amazing to win the championship. It's credit to the Mark 1 team really. I suppose I've come a long way in my racing since starting with those boys. So yeah, it's really one for them.
We saw in the closing stage, I think you had Ryder right behind you. Was there ever a thought of you just letting those guys go? We knew that you needed 10th place, I believe, to win the championship. Was it tempting just to drop into kind of 6th or 7th and just let those guys pull away?
Oh, look, I was conscious that he had Will closely following, so I was like, if you give one, you're going to get both. And I sort of, when I put my head down, I could sort of drag a couple of hundredths, I suppose, on Kane. And look, there's not a lot of passing opportunities apart from probably T3, so I was sort of happy just to sit there. But I was actually carrying a few optional repairs, but sort of opted not to take the fast repair at the stop just to, just in case something else happened. So I think that's why I was probably a little bit slow in that back end of the race.
When you reflect on this season, what would you say has made the difference, which has enabled you to win the championship? What areas have you improved compared to previous seasons?
I probably think qualifying, putting the car up the front, certainly helps with the race, but also consistency. I definitely haven't been the outright quickest person, at a lot of tracks. I have my tracks up, I suppose, where I'm a bit quicker, but just really consistency in finishing races and probably just racing well more than anything. I think that's the thing. There's been quite a few sort of cars drop out in races, and you sort of slide up the ladder.
I've been involved in a few seasons now of Aussie Mixed and Fixed, and I mean it's so competitive. No one ever seems to win 2 titles in a row. I mean, you can correct me if I'm wrong on that, but if you could win next season, that would be quite a big deal if you could defend your championship.
Yeah, I mean, that'd be pretty crazy. But yeah, I hear what you're saying. I think Neil won last season, and I don't know if we've seen him in the back half of this season too much. I think he started, but yeah, definitely it seems the challenge to continue on with pace next season. I think the big difference was obviously this season to last season was the new tyre model, and that's obviously caused a few issues for some people getting their head around that. So at least that's consistent going into next season. So look, I think we should be able to carry the pace on and keep battling away.
Absolutely. Well, congratulations, Timothy, on your championship victory and your 3rd place today. Is there anyone you'd like to thank before we say goodbye?
Yeah, just like to thank RMS and Knight Rider Designs, but yeah, just a massive thanks to the team. Dave Clements, he puts in an incredible amount of work in behind the scenes, to make everything run smoothly, and he's a real asset to the team. And yeah, the other boys, they've been pushing me along since the start. We've had a few quicker guys on the team that I was a fair bit slower than, I suppose, when I came in, and sort of they've dragged me up there. So yeah, massive thanks to those guys, and look, thanks to Ryan. It's an amazing series, and it's only getting better. So yeah, and thanks to you guys for doing the broadcast every week. It's a pleasure to watch.
Thank you very much, Timothy, and we'll see you back very soon on the Esports Network.
Yeah, 100%. Looking forward to next season. Bit of a break, so get a week of downtime, which is not long, I suppose, but keen to get back into it as always. So looking forward to it.
Awesome. See you back very soon.
See you guys. Thanks.
Timothy Bevan then, and Daniel, who are we going to chat with next?
Up next, we'll have a chat to Nathan Huppertz. Championship came down to the wire tonight between both Nathan and Tim there, and unfortunately we did see those issues for Nathan earlier on in the race. But Nathan, for the championship yourself, looked like a little bit of a tough one tonight. Started a little bit further down the order than where we had traditionally seen, but you came in early with the pit stop, and then some unfortunate connection issues dropped you out partway through the race. Other than the connection issue, which ultimately put an end to the championship, how did you find not only the race that you were able to complete tonight, but also the championship over the course of the season?
Thanks for dragging me up. It's a bit of a surprise. I was just having a chat with Ryan and Tim in the waiting room. Look, unfortunately, iRacing crashed, so that dumped me out of the server, and I had to wait until the connection was sort of refreshed. And by the time I hooked back up and got into the game, I thought I'll at least try and get back on track and hopefully finish within some sort of distance of Tim to give myself a chance. I had 8 or 10 minutes of, I think 8 minutes of compulsory repairs, so that really, unfortunately, put me out. But yeah, look, it was great to be coming into the last round with only 16 points between Tim and myself. It was a really tough season, and we both had tracks where he might be faster at one. He was quicker than me here, but there were other tracks where I might have his measure slightly, and it's the first time I've put myself in a situation where I had a chance of nabbing an outright championship. So it was great season, and everyone drove really well. It's really competitive, and I think I might have still taken out the pro championship. I'm not sure, but find out a bit later.
Yeah, it's been a really solid effort for both yourself, Fusion, out the course of the championship have been very, very good. And, I mean, I must say a personal thank you to yourself for some little bits of tips, tricks, and insights that you've been able to share over the course of the championship on how the cars have run. It's been absolutely fantastic to have a little bit of inside knowledge along those lines. We have a week off and then come back again for the next season, and we're likely to see you back on the grid again.
Yeah, I'd love to be back. Probably won't see me next week. I think my wife will have something to say about that if I race another Sunday. So, I'll be back next season. I'm not too sure how much effort I'm going to put in next season. We've got a couple of big enduros and special events coming up. So we've got the Le Mans 24 Hours in June, so we'll be running probably 3 or 4 cars from Fusion Sim Racing in that. So I'll be putting a fair bit of effort into some of those special events. So next season might just be turn up on Sunday and have a go and see what happens. But thanks to Ryan and you guys for doing a great job in commentary. I'm happy to pass on a few tips on how the cars are driving every now and again. Really enjoyed it. It's awesome.
Yeah, definitely, mate. Well, look, all the best for the week off. Hopefully, you get those couple of extra branding points with the lovely wife, and we'll definitely look forward to catching you back up next season. And hope for all the best for both yourself and the Fusion Sim Sports team. But before we let you go, did you want to say a thank you to anyone else?
Obviously to Sim Racing, great bunch of guys. We've got a really great culture in our team. Culture's number one, regardless of how fast we are, and a top group to be involved in and help each other improve. And look, massive shout out to Tim Phoeben. Did an awesome job all season, super consistent. Didn't make too many mistakes. When he just made the most of every race and every opportunity. So really deserving winner, and glad to see him on the top step of the championship. Deserved.
Absolutely, mate. We'll enjoy the week off, and like I say, we'll look forward to catching up with you again for next season.
Cool. Thanks, guys.
So that was Nathan Huppertz there, runner-up in the championship for this season. Our last interview is going to be with league organiser Ryan Kolstad. Ryan, welcome to the commentary box. First up, these championship finales, geez, they're always so close, and they're never easy, are they?
No, they're not. The drivers have put on some fantastic efforts the last couple of seasons. I think the last 2 seasons have both come down to the wire, maybe even the last 3 seasons. And it's testament to the effort that the drivers themselves put in each week, and the amount of hours that they put in practicing. They really do seem to enjoy this series and get a kick out of trying to win it.
It's been another very successful season for Aussie Mixed and Fixed. How would you reflect on it? It's safe to say we've had some changes in the real world, and that's almost just helped the league even more with an absolute incredible amount of entries.
Yeah, I think in total we had over 250 plus entries this season, which is a phenomenal amount of drivers. 265 drivers have signed up to race, which is a ridiculous amount of drivers. And we had 178 drivers finish in the points this season. So, look, it's been a huge season. Really looking forward to a break. And I'd really like to thank my sponsors this season, Huppertz Racewear Australia and Simfinity, for coming on board and helping me this season. Huppertz will be leaving us this season, unfortunately, due to obviously the climate of what's going on. They're unable to continue, which is very sad. But that is something that happens every now and again. So I'd really like to thank Huppertz Australia for everything they've done for the last couple of seasons for us to help AMF get to where it is.
And talk us through the event that AMF is putting on next week.
So next week we're having one of our week 13 special events. We don't put them on every week 13, but we've decided to put one on next week, and we're going to do a Lotus 79 race at Barcelona. So really looking forward to that. If anyone wants to drive, they just need to join our Discord channel. If they don't have access to our Discord channel, the link is on our Facebook page or on our website to sign up for the race. And it'll run at exactly the same time as our standard GT races, and being broadcast by you lovely guys here as well. So yeah, just something a little bit different for us. We don't normally fall into the Formula One cars, so those cars look fantastic and sound fantastic, and we're going to run the historic layout too, so make a real 1970s feel Formula One GP.
Absolutely, that sounds absolutely awesome, and looking forward to season 12 as well. Any changes on the horizon? I've seen that you've stuck with the IMSA schedule once again, but any differences that you're going to be making for next season?
No, actually, we're not going IMSA schedule. We're going to switch from running IMSA, and we're going to run the ILMS schedule next season. Yes, so we like the track layout for ILMS next season a lot more. So we're going to avoid doing an endurance race when both Spa and Le Mans are being held. So we're actually going to run 4 endurance races back to back to back. So yeah, we'll have 4 in a row. One will include the Nordschleife track too, so we'll get to see these guys go for 90 minutes around the Nordschleife, so that should be interesting. But I suppose the biggest news for us next season is we have secured new sponsorship for next season. So at this point, I'd really like to welcome Track Racer on board with AMF. They've decided to come on and help us with the series. So yeah, big welcome to Track Racer helping us out. And we've also got Acuta Solutions as well. So they're going to be our Safe Driver Award for next season. So we're going to be monitoring the drivers throughout the season, and we'll be handing out a Safe Driver Award at the end of next season as well.
Awesome. That sounds absolutely fantastic. Ryan, thanks for putting on another brilliant championship. Is there anyone else that you'd just like to give a shout out to?
Most definitely. First of all, I'd love to thank you guys for everything you do. Love the broadcast every week, and I know the drivers, they all love to sit down and watch the race, either the night of or the day after. I need to thank Dave from RMS Race Management Services. Without him, loading the grids each week would be an absolute nightmare. With his software, which is still in beta, I'm able to load the servers in about 30 seconds nowadays. So, yeah, with his help, that's fantastic. And lastly, I'd like to thank DM Cinematography for doing all my photos every week. He punches out about between 40 to 50 photos of these guys every single week. Couldn't thank him enough. And lastly, all of my stewards that help me week in, week out. Kester, Justin, Stephen and Alex, they all do a great job helping me out each week, and without those guys there helping me, the series doesn't run properly. So yeah, I'd love to thank those guys as well.
Awesome. Well, yeah, once again, thanks, man, for putting on a superb season, and we'll see you back very soon.
No worries. Catch you guys.
Ryan Kolstad there, a series organizer. So Daniel, that's another championship complete. It's week 12. It's always sad to see all these championships go. We've already said goodbye to AOSC. I said goodbye to U of V8 yesterday as well, and now AMF. The good news is, of course, that we'll be getting back underway. Well, there's pretty much no gap, is there? We have the special event next week, then we're back into season 12 the week after, and I can't wait for that. It's so competitive, this championship. Every race always is extremely entertaining, and this season 11, I think, has taken the series to a whole new level.
Yeah, it's been a fantastic championship. I mean, we've covered this series now for a few seasons on Apex, and the racing has got better and better with each season as we go on. We've seen 2 great finishes to conclude 2 championships in respective years, all come down to the final race. And I just had a quick glance at the upcoming schedule for next season, and I think we're in for a pretty good one as well. We've got a lot of great lists. The 4 endurance races going back to back is going to be fantastic. I mean, with Daytona, Watkins Glen, Nürburgring, as Ryan pointed out, and then Barcelona as well. So those are going to be really entertaining. And then to conclude it, we go from Belle Isle season 11. We finish at Sebring next season. And I mean, we know already how good the racing is at Sebring. So I'm looking forward to seeing what has to be on offer from all these guys here. We already know we got a stellar group of guys that are always racing in the league. I can't wait to see how quick they come back next season.
Definitely, that's going to be absolutely fantastic. Certainly do subscribe to the iRacing Esports Network to catch all of the action next season. We'll be bringing it to Apex Racing TV for all 12 rounds of the championship. And also do subscribe to Apex Racing TV as well, because we will be showing you the special event in the Lotus 79. You don't want to miss that at Barcelona at the same time next week, I believe. So that's pretty much the season completed. Thanks to Jonathan Simon, by the way, for helping out with so many of the broadcasts in the earlier parts of the season. He did the first half of the season, so fantastic. Thanks to him. And we also had Brad Clink as well, fill in for one of the broadcasts, but in particular thanks to Scott Newton and Daniel Leet for this championship as well, sticking with it for the pretty much the entire 12 weeks. Thanks for you for tuning in to all these broadcasts. Without you, there would be no point in putting it on. And of course, do check out season 12 as well at Silverstone, coming up in just a fortnight's time. I've been Sam Fitzpatrick, alongside me, Daniel Leet and Scott Newton. We will see you back then very, very soon. Hopefully you have a good time. We'll see you back for season 12 in a couple of weeks' time. See you then.